Hey everyone, welcome back to the District 3 podcast. My name is Irvin.
And I'm Miggs.
And joining us as a guest co-host today is Sophie from KUAF. Sophie, we finally made it happen. You're here.
I know. I'm so excited to be here.
And I just learned when we were talking with our guest off the air that you're originally from San Antonio?
Yes, I am. I was born in Boulder, but I was raised in San Antonio my entire life.
Okie dokie. And can you talk a little bit about the work that you do here at KUAF?
Yeah.
For those that don't know.
Okay. I'm the program and podcast producer here at KUAF. I do a lot of different kinds of things here. I report for our daily news program, Ozarks at Large, and I also help facilitate our live sessions where we go out and interview and record local musicians in and around the region. So. And
you also DJ, right?
Yeah, I do. I do a lot.
That's like the first time I had interacted with you before, but then you were gonna DJ at which I didn't know also was like a pro wrestling themed.
Yes, the Radio Rumble.
Yeah, I didn't know. I thought it was just like a rumble, and then I showed up and people were dressed as pro wrestlers, and I wasn't. And I'm like the biggest pro wrestling fan, so I was kind of sad.
We should have put the message out a little bit better that it was wrestling.
Maybe
themed.
Next time.
Hey, there will be
another
next
one?
time, hopefully. Yes,
Okey-dokey.
tentatively. But
what kind of music do you DJ? For those that don't know.
And I don't go out and DJ like live events. I'm not like an actual DJ, but I have a radio show on our HD3 channel, our digital radio channel, and it's called Runtime. It's a local music program. Since I already get to interact with so many independent musicians and artists here, it's just a good opportunity to kind of delve into that a little bit deeper and play some music that we wouldn't be able to get on FM. So yeah, it's great. I love it. I love working here.
Well, that's cool. I also thought when you said DJ that you meant like skirt skirt. Like that kind of.
That sounds cooler. I should have just I should have just said that it was the thing. But,
but you meant like back in the day there used to be this thing called radio. And they used to have this thing called disc jockeys. And they were the ones who would speak and flip the track.
That sounds more accurate. But
like MTV. What do they call them? Did they call them?
VJs,
huh? Yeah. MTV VJs. I remember that.
Yes.
Back in late 80s, early 90s. Late 90s. I remember that. But we're glad you're here for this episode and that you're finally, guest co-hosting with us. Hopefully in the future you can continue to do that. You've been a big help for me specifically and for the podcast. For anything that we need, you're always down to help. So we appreciate you so much, Sophie. But I'm excited about today's guest. Joining us today is the current President and Chief Executive Officer of Upskill NWA, Carol Silva Moralez. Carol, thank you for joining us today. How are you?
I'm wonderful. It really is an honor to join you, Irvin and Miggs and Sophie. And I'm always excited to tell Upskill NWA's story. So thank you for the invitation. I'm honored.
Of course. And like I was saying at the beginning of this podcast episode, y'all just recently discovered, Sophie and you, that y'all are both from San Antonio. And y'all had a moment there for a little bit.
We did.
And
We're connected now.
I thought this was going to be a San Antonio episode, and it still can be. It's okay for y'all to, but you all have.
You guys had some real good stories before we started. I was like, you guys know we're not recording right now. Right?
Hold on.
That'll be another episode, San Antonio edition.
Yes, let's talk about it.
So where are you originally from?
I was born in Ozona, Texas, so a little town outside of San Antonio.
Okie dokie. And then you moved to San Antonio when?
Yeah, I started going to college in San Antonio, so I attended University of Texas, San Antonio. I'm a road runner.
Yeah.
San Antonio is such a cool place. I've gotten the opportunity to be there twice, and I've gone to the Riverwalk, checked out some of the locations of the Selena movie was filmed. And then also, I'm not sure if y'all are like a Pee Wee Herman like I was when I was Pee Wee Herman fan, like I was when I was a little kid, but the Pee Wee Herman Big Adventure movie that was filmed at the Alamo.
Yes, sure.
I remember the scene, and then also in Selena, I think there's a clip in the Selena movie where they perform outside of the Alamo.
That's right. Yeah,
it's such a historical.
What did you think of the Alamo when you first went?
I thought it was much smaller than I thought it
was.
Exactly. That's what everyone says.
Most people will say that. You think that the Alamo would be this massive.
Yeah, they fought for this.
I mean, they did. They did. It's pretty remarkable to consider everything that happened there, and it's right in downtown.
And you can go in, right? I remember I went in once, unless it was like a fever dream or something.
You can.
Isn't it crazy that just recently, this past year or so, that they started having Spanish-speaking tours at the Alamo?
Oh, really?
That wasn't something that they were already doing, which is kind of crazy.
Wow.
gosh, there's so much that we take for granted, right?
Yeah.
Sophie and I were talking about how the Latino culture is so celebrated in San Antonio, and the majority of the population is Latino.
Yeah, I remember the first time I went, I saw Santa Claus with the mariachi hat, like some guy that was dressed in full on Santa Claus.
That sounds like
San Antonio.
amazing.
It was like a Latino, but he had like a mariachi hat. And I'm like, oh, okay,
Right.
I know where I'm at. This is my people. It kind of felt like a bigger Springdale to me, where it's like a lot of people, specifically Mexicans.
Right.
Is Mexicans the biggest population in San Antonio, or is it like half?
I don't know. I don't know, but it would seem like it would
pretty
be
close to Mexico.
Close to Mexico.
right.
And the new one too, you know.
And I think
New Mexico, get it?
I get it.
Mexico.
West Texas.
What are some things that you think people, like specifically in Arkansas, don't know about San Antonio? And I guess that's a question for both of you. What are some things that people might not know?
You know, I was very surprised. I saw a recent statistic about how it's got one of the highest poverty rates in the country.
Oh, wow.
I know. It's a little sobering to share that statistic.
Dude, I was going to joke around when you guys were talking about all the pretty things, and I was going to mention, like, oh, but did you see, like, the homeless people? But,
yes.
yeah, there is a lot
exactly.
of them. Yeah.
There is.
Especially downtown.
It's surprising. But it just goes to show that you can still be a thriving metropolitan area. Obviously, all of the touristy attractions it has, all of the events that it has, NBA teams, all of those things, and still have a population of people that are in need.
100%. I think kind of just going off on that, what I would say too is just the strong disparities between different areas in San Antonio. It is it's an extremely big city, but it's spread out. So, you know, there's a lot of barriers that kind of physically define the space, and you can see it, just like the disparity within places like Alamo Heights or downtown San Antonio. Yeah. If you know, you know.
We're on the east side.
Like East Springdale and West Springdale, where like the railroad tracks kind of divide us sometimes.
Literally with Alamo Heights too, especially the railroad tracks, because there's this very fine area in downtown San Antonio where it's like wealthy and there's all the money there, but then right next to that across the street there's people that are experiencing poverty and homelessness. So yeah, you can see that kind of in a lot of cities. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were talking about that you were a little culture shock when you moved over here, right? Because did you move directly to Fayetteville, Sophie?
Yeah. So
I can see why.
for school, you know, I came up here for school. I came as part of the honors program. That was my main incentive for wanting to come here. I don't have any family here. I wasn't very familiar with the area, but definitely, yeah, just an extremely large culture shock with what you were saying. Latino Hispanic population in San Antonio is the majority of the people. So coming and just seeing like all these white folks is just kind of crazy, and it is kind of just a commentary on we're not that far apart, but things are very different.
Yeah.
You know, it makes sense because you're very approachable, Sophie, and as a brown man, like I feel when people are like super approachable with me and when they're not, and now it makes sense. You coming from San Antonio, I'm like, I get it. You've been around like Latino
a kindred
people,
soul.
the culture.
I felt that like separation too, that there was like a lack of connection there, which was just instinctive, intuitive. Whenever I was growing up as a child, it's weird to see this much like I mean, and especially just for the Hispanic and Latino population specifically. With my experience in San Antonio, it was crazy to move here, and very sad in terms of like food.
I love this perspective from Sophie in particular, right? Because you know she has a very unique perspective in that she's Caucasian and came from San Antonio, that's culturally very diverse. It is encouraging, I would say, having relocated here in 2012, to see the growth of the culture and the embracing of things. Now, I'll say that with the caveat that some of the things that we're going through today, I'm not blind to those significant challenges. But in general, it has been my own experience that we're much more embracing of different cultures and welcoming of those things. And then when you have an international company like Walmart that's continuing to bring in people from all over the world, I love it for my sons and my family to be raised in a place where they can have access to people who are different from them.
I feel like that's kind of how we become the best people, right? Learning from other people's experiences and seeing how we can be better neighbors to other communities as well, right?
Yes.
It's a beautiful thing to see. So how did you end up over here in Arkansas?
Isn't this crazy? I feel like maybe most of us came the same way.
But you went from like Texas to California. Usually us, like we came from California to over here.
Right. Oh, yes, right. But I
took
took this big winding road
went around the country to come back.
Yes. To finally arrive here in Northwest Arkansas. So I came here because of Walmart. So I started with the company in 1994. I married a man who, still my husband today, but joined the Marine Corps, and we got stationed out in 29 Palms, California, and there was a little Walmart store in the next town, and went in there, applied, started working for Walmart. About 4 years later, became an assistant manager for Walmart, and had a lot of people who saw potential in me and gave me opportunities and invested their time and talent and treasures in somebody who they thought was capable of doing a lot. And so I had my own store in El Cajon, California for 4 years. Then I had a store in San Antonio, Texas. So the one store 765, Rolling Oaks Mall.
Oh, stop.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Had that store for 4 years before I got promoted to market manager and took my little family out to Stillwater, Oklahoma. So was there for a couple of years, and then I had a mentor in Celia Swanson. A lot of folks who listen would probably know who that is. First SVP of Walmart, who brought me to the home office and said, I want you to learn in this talent development area. So teach us how to train people to become the next store managers and market managers of this company. And so I did that and had the opportunity to support health and wellness. And in the final 2 years I was with Walmart, I led the design and development of the functional and leadership training for our U.S. workforce that was delivered through the Walmart academies. So I had the opportunity to do a ton of stuff. And as happens, restructures happened, and I was laid off in 2019. Isn't that amazing? It took me years to even say those words.
Yeah.
But it served as the launch pad for becoming the Upskill NWA president and CEO.
How did that journey? How does it go from the being laid off to the Upskill?
Great. So in between, I had this great opportunity to work for Serve to Perform. Their boutique firm that's here, consulting firm that's in Fayetteville. And I started working with them as a contractor because I didn't even know what a consultant was. Yeah. But I found out I was pretty good at it and became a partner in the firm.
And sometimes I feel like people of color / Latinos sometimes we're not really educated on that, on the fact that we can become consultants in different things.
Yes.
And sometimes it's gatekept sometimes by other individuals. I was talking to someone about that the other day. I was like, politically, right? Like I have all this experience. I know how to do social media, all these different things.
Yes.
But I've never even thought to myself, I can be a consultant, because I guess sometimes our culture doesn't think that way. But other folks, if they have some experience, they become consultants. They make all this money.
They jump ahead.
Like they have the confidence to do that. But we haven't for a long time. So, but until recently, I'm seeing now a change.
That's right. Now, I could go into a whole other rabbit hole about our cultural attributes and how they hold us back, how they power us forward, but then they do hold us back. But having the opportunity to have served as a partner in Serve to Perform and create Latinx NA with Dr. Adam Arroyos and Sam Arroyos and build the framework for that program, and now, golly, what they've grown it into has been remarkable. But I was out there doing a lot of social media when an executive recruiter reached out and asked me if I was interested in becoming the president and CEO of Upskill. Would I do an interview? And I said yes.
Was that through LinkedIn they reached out?
Yes.
Because I see you're like a LinkedIn professional. I see the stuff you post on there. So I'm like, you really keep up with your LinkedIn.
You're verified.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
No, I was going to say with that LinkedIn, like I never really paid attention to it. I just kind of like left it there. And then recently I've had a couple of big companies just reaching me on there. I'm like, maybe I should update this.
Yes, you should.
I don't think I've ever made a post, and it's been like 4 years since I updated it.
I can't.
Yeah.
I hate using
Yes, you should. We don't realize the power of social media. And LinkedIn in particular has been an area that I've studied because I needed to grow my Upskill NWA presence and reach. And I leverage my own network to be able to do that. Right. And I've, 5 stars on LinkedIn and all this other kind of stuff. So anyway, I might know a little bit about LinkedIn.
I'm going to ask for some tips after
Do,
this.
yeah, I'm happy. Come sit down and talk about it.
Yeah, because I was even thinking about that myself because I think it was like last year, maybe I would say 6 or 5 months ago when I really started taking LinkedIn seriously. I even went like premium.
Yes.
Okay.
I started seeing.
That's right. You got to get those emails.
I started seeing who was looking at my profile. So like
right
some of our listeners were looking at my profile. I saw the names, but I started getting opportunities.
Yes.
Not even job opportunities that much. More like speaking engagement.
That's right.
Paid speaking engagement.
Yeah, that's how it happened for me too.
And different things, and I was like, oh wow, like I always thought, I've always been like very anti-corporate. And professionally that can be an issue, but I've just always been that way, and I always associated LinkedIn with just being corporate minded, and I'm more like grassroots community organizing minded, but I also know that I have to not only plan for my future but just look ahead on opportunities and stuff. And if I don't do LinkedIn, I'm missing out on opportunities. I'm missing out on connections with people.
Yes, exactly right. I have a broad network, and it's really been interesting to see where these connections are coming from. Washington, D.C., I have a mentor who came out of LinkedIn and is the president and CEO of the Congressional Hispanic Leadership Institute. How would I ever have met her if not through Serve to Perform, LinkedIn? It really is a powerful tool. I would highly recommend engaging.
I think just a little bounce back. That Latin XNA
Yes.
was that a play on Latinx?
Yes,
and
XNA because we're in Northwest Arkansas and everybody knows what XNA is.
Yeah, but I was wondering if it was like on purpose,
Probably.
It was on purpose,
Yeah.
and it was Dr. Adam Arroyo's brainchild. We were all trying to play with, well, what are we going to call this thing? And we had so much interest in pulling together a community initiative that really brought together all of the professionals in Northwest Arkansas. So originally, our goal was to elevate and empower and engage the Latino professionals that had been displaced and were just sitting out here but lacked the connections to other corporate partners so that they could find another career. And since then, it's grown. Now it's Latinx for everyone, which I love. So it's much more inclusive, and you get to see a wide array of professions in there, multi-generational audience. So it's really been something to be proud of.
And y'all have these events in Benton County, right? That's kind of where they're more held at, like the panels and stuff.
Right. Yep. Benton County. I would say, probably predominantly. Although I do know, I sit on the executive advisory board of Latin XNA now, after being its chair for the 2 years that I was there. But there are some events that are here in Washington County.
Okay. I need to stop by.
You do.
I think a few months ago the Instagram page followed me. So yes. I need to. And I've heard some of my friends talk to me about it.
You should check it out.
The times haven't worked whenever, or I find out later. Like I'll see a post about like how the event happened. And I was like, oh, I didn't know. I could have tried to stop by that day. So maybe I need to keep an eye out. A little bit.
I'll keep you in mind too as I see these different events going on. Say, hey, you might want to pop into this one.
Okie dokie.
Okay.
So Upskill.
Yes.
What is Upskill NWA?
Upskill is an organization that wakes up every day to connect people to their dream careers in healthcare. We're a sectoral-based workforce development model, which means that we serve the needs of our employers. So we have 5 regional hospital systems that are our partners: Washington Regional, Mercy, Northwest, Manna, Arkansas Children's. And we maintain a relationship with them so that every year they're informing us of those roles that are in the highest demand. And then we go out and find non-traditional students who are in low-income jobs who have a dream to be in a high-wage, high-demand career so they can change the trajectory of their families. So we, as an organization, pay 100% of all tuition, books, fees, and required equipment. We provide each participant with a career navigator who serves as their coach and mentor from the day they start college to the day they graduate from college. So let's think about this. Some of the programs we offer are certificate programs that are 12 months long, up to bachelor's degrees that are 4 years long. So we have had 87 graduates since we started in January of 2022 that have had that same career navigator and coach the day they started college. So it makes a significant difference. The primary role of that career navigator is to make sure that we remove the barriers that our non-traditional students face. So with a majority of them being single-parent households, meaning they have children, but they're a single parent, you can imagine that the challenges they face are significant. Childcare is an issue. Housing is an issue.
Childcare is so expensive.
Yes, it is. And yet resources exist out there to be able to offset those expenses. So that career navigator works directly with the participant to find and connect them with the resource that can resolve that barrier, remove the barrier, so that they can keep going to school and graduate from college.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Then, sorry, we're not done yet.
That's part 1.
We then place them into a career with one of those 5 hospital partners where the participant agrees to work for 2 years after they graduate. That's significant. In this region where healthcare is a priority and growing the healthcare infrastructure and workforce is a priority, having a workforce that stays here and works here is a significant advantage. So our value proposition to those employer partners is that we're upskilling existing residents of Northwest Arkansas, and they're serving us here in these hospital systems. I mentioned before, so I hope it's okay that I talk about
Go for it.
how special it is to be in this role and be served by my Upskill NWA participants. I didn't think that I would experience that for 10 years. And last fall, I was in a Mercy clinic, and the LPN that was checking us in noticed that my email address was Upskill. And so she asked me if I happened to work for Upskill. And I said, I do. And she says, I'm from Upskill. I'm in Upskill. And so is she. And she motioned to the girl that was working at the desk to come in so that they could meet me. They didn't know what my role was, and I didn't say. And she won't ever realize how moved I am to have experienced that. Because what I know about the program, Irving, as many things as we invest into it, it changes people's lives. I hear enough stories at orientations, at launch your career events, but these different milestone events in their life cycle with us that I know they are changed for the better. And when I share some of the actual metrics that we've been able to achieve, it's pretty convincing and easy to understand why.
So do you think that because, you talked very highly about like the mentorship that you received, do you think that's why you do this kind of work? Because you're able to kind of, help out other people in the same way with all your experience, with all your access to resources so that they can have a better life like you did?
Yes. There's a lot to be said for social capital. And I leverage that and all of the treasures that I have received, all the strengths to position Upskill NWA as a value proposition, as a regional partner to help us achieve our regional goals, especially as it pertains to building a healthcare destination here in Northwest Arkansas. But the reason I do it is very different, Edwin, and I get emotional every time, so I'm going to apologize in advance. When I was 14, I remember sitting on my mama's bed, helping her study for her GED. She was 30 at the time. And that GED book, I joke because it was this big, and you're not going to see it on the podcast, but it was huge, like those old-time phone books that we used to have. And at the age of 50, my mama graduated with her bachelor's degree from Howard Payne University. She changed the trajectory of our lives and ended generational poverty. I'm a CEO of Upskill. My sister is a COO. My brother's a master electrician. We will never know the hardships that she faced when she was a child, or my father, for that. That's why I do what I do. That's the intrinsic motivation that drives me to have these conversations, to tell these stories, and talk to as many people as I can, to help as many families as I can to change their trajectories too. Because it can happen. It happened for me, it can happen for everyone.
A lot of times it takes the sacrifice of a parent, right, to be able.
Yes.
I've heard countless stories of individuals where like their parents. We'll use our co-host for an example. You know, Elena talks about how her mom was in law school while she was pregnant, and she Latina immigration lawyer. Just that changed the outcome of like what the future was going to look like for their families.
Inspiring.
Yeah.
I have a friend, Jill Redmond, who I mentored when I was an executive at Walmart, and she would take her PhD classes and her baby would be in school with her. So she had a professor who would let him stay and play in the back of the classroom. Yes, their grit and determination and perseverance are the defining factors and things that our Upskill NWA participants have in common. They have an intrinsic motivation to change their lives, and it's different for every one of them. But they have the grit and perseverance to decide every day to go to school. This is a population, Irving, that is one catastrophe away from financial disaster. They need 14 months worth of pay to make it just 12 months. Where's the other stuff coming from? They can't have a flat tire because they don't have the money to pay for that and pay for childcare and get food. Those are the realities of the challenges that our participants are facing all the time.
Yeah, I've heard of like couples, like married couples who sometimes the spouse would not work because it's actually more expensive to pay childcare for families than for them to work.
Yes, absolutely right.
I thought that was wild when I heard about it.
Right. You know, I would tell you that exactly what happened with my family. So my husband's a trailing spouse. I'm the one that had the Walmart career, and so therefore we prioritized that, and he sacrificed everything to raise our family. When it was time for him to go back to the workforce, understanding that he's not entering the workforce as a Walmart executive, so therefore those opening pays were not enough to cover the daycare for our little princess, because she would have to go to daycare if he was going to work. So those are real decisions that people are making all the time.
What does the if there's someone out there right now that wants to participate in this upskill program, what is the process to get initiated for that? Like,
Great.
How do you start that?
Right. First, I would assure them that the program is real. We do everything we say we're going to do.
This ain't a pyramid scheme. That's what we're saying.
Right, right.
Yeah.
We pay 100% of your tuition, your books, your fees, your required equipment. You don't have to worry about those things. We pay for all of them. We provide you with a coach and mentor that's going to help you. You go on to www.upskillnwa.com and click the apply button. Enter in your information, and then they will be contacted by Bridget Schultz, who's our career services coordinator. And the process begins. Now, I would also urge anybody who's applying to stick with the process. We have had over 2,000 applicants, Irvin. You can imagine. The program is in high demand. Of those 2,000, probably 40% of them stop putting in their documents. So we ask you to provide residency information. So give us your lease, your tax return. And they stop. They self-opt out. They decide, oh, man, maybe I make too much. Maybe I'm not going to do this anymore. There's various reasons why they stop. I would encourage them to keep going. It's worth it. You know, I often imagined, Irvin, as a college student, the day that somebody would say to me, I got you. You don't have to pay for anything. You just show up. That's what we do. And it's real.
So the application might be a little bit long, but stick to it.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. I recently spoke to a rad tech student, radiological imaging sciences out of UAMS, at our orientation. And she said, I said, well, how was it? Like, how'd you get in? And she says, it took me a long time because I didn't believe it was true. Until my friend told me that she had gotten into the program and that you were doing exactly what you said you would do. So I applied, and now I'm part of the program. And now I tell my friends. So there were 3 of them sitting at this table. So you know, I want to encourage people to take all the steps, finish the application. You may go into wait lists. I mean, it depends, right? Fundings, streams change and transition, but that's what I do. That's my thing to worry about. I'm going to get the money to get them into college.
And I know there's like people that are always skeptical, right? That are listening, and they're like, Carol, what's the catch?
That's right.
And so there really isn't a catch. It's just a commitment of 2 years to one of these local hospitals.
Yes, that's right. And Irvin, you know, we all got skin in the game here. What I tell people is this isn't a handout. It's a hand up, right? So the participant, when they come in, they apply, and we get them through the interview process again because we're trying to find that intrinsic motivator. Is this somebody who's going to stick with it? And most of the time it is. They agree that when they're going to graduate from college, so they're going to do all the things they do to get to that stage. Then the participant agrees to interview with any of the hospital systems that are hiring for their role. So for a registered nurse, every hospital system needs them. So they will apply with all 5 of the hospital systems, do the interview, and accept one of the offers and work with them for 2 years, or they pay us back what we have invested in them. That's a big one. 90% of our participants graduate from college. That's significant. So they have a tremendous chance at success.
And they get to pick whichever institution to go to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They pick from the program. So we offer, I'm going to list them here, but you can find them on our Upskill NWA website. Licensed practical nurse, surgical technologist, registered nurse, respiratory respiratory therapist, radiological imaging sciences, and the LPN to BSN bridge program out of the University of Arkansas.
Wow.
Great. And with the amount of work that you guys are doing, it must be a huge team of people, right? Shouldn't there be tons of folks working on this?
You would think so,
Right.
Sophie, but we have a mighty team of 6.
Oh,
So we are a women's organization. Our Career Navigators, we have 3 of them, plus a career service coordinator. So they're the 4 that are interacting with our participants all the time. They're the reason why I can go out and have these conversations and ask for funding. So thank you to Bridget and Danielle and Brandy and Claudia, who were just remarkable women who give their all to these participants.
I just love that it's a women-led
Yeah,
group. You
know.
mentioned that, and
can't
I
help
had to bring
saying
it
that.
back up.
It may change in the future, but
Yeah, with growth and that's a good thing.
We
but-
continue to grow, so I was really excited to add a career navigator last year. And then I have 2 directors. One is the person who tells me to stay on a beer budget. That's my director of finance. And then a director of services is Christina, who make sure that we do what we say we're going to do. We're going to pay all of that. We're going to coach you. We're going to mentor you. We're going to make sure you graduate. And she's just done an amazing job making sure that we do those things.
Is there like a number of people that y'all are looking for at the moment to apply for this upskill? Like, is there a certain amount of slots open?
Yes. So we have 33 slots we're trying to fill between now and summer semester. And then we're going to add 150 more.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying money ain't a problem.
Bring on right now. I mean, I think in my position, money's always a problem, but I'm saying
Bring those applications
we've got some
in.
funding
There's
in there
spots.
we need to use. And the funding has come directly from Washington County, Benton County, Rogers, Fayetteville, and Bentonville. So those guys all invested money. I say those guys, please forgive me, but those cities and municipalities all invested their ARPA funds, American Rescue Plan Act funds, into supporting upskill. And that's why we've been able to enroll 373 Northwest Arkansas residents in the program.
Oh, wow. Do you have the number of how many graduates y'all have had so far?
Yeah.
Not to
Let
put
me
on
run
the
you
spot.
through.
I should have told you that before.
I
but-
love it. No, I have that right here.
Oh, you have a whole
So we have served, I'm going to take you through what our metrics are. So we've served 373, I mentioned. This is as of December 31st of 2024. We've had 87 graduates working right here in our hospital system. We have an 88% retention rate. So that's how many people we keep and they graduate in the program. We have a 90% placement rate within those Northwest Arkansas employers. And the average income increase is 132%.
Wow.
That's life-changing.
Isn't that fantastic? We got to celebrate that because what it equates to those cities and counties that invested their ARPA funds is a community return of investment equaling $14.2 million. Let's think about that. 87 graduates that are earning over almost $33,000 a year more than they did when they came in, or increasing their income by 132%. Over the next 5 years, that equates to $14.2 million because they live here and they work here and they thrive here in Northwest Arkansas.
You know, is there like what does the perfect candidate look like? I know there's not like one specific thing, but I mean, is there anything?
No, they come from all walks of life. What they share is that intrinsic motivation.
Okay, but
So you got to be a good self-motivator in a way.
Yes, you do.
So kind of even the length of the application kind of weeds people out
Yes,
of itself.
it
yeah.
does. If you don't try and persist and work through those things or communicate,
Yeah.
then yes, you're right. They tend to not make it through the process. But I think maybe what you're trying to get to is, what does that candidate look like that we're trying to find?
yeah.
Okay, so this is a non-traditional student, which is at least 24 years old.
Okay.
So this is somebody who graduated from college or they got their GED. Maybe they went to work right away because they started a family right away. Or, they had to support their existing family. There's multiple reasons for that. But this non-traditional student may have some college, but does not have a degree. So they never finished college, but they want to go back. And that's the person we find. So I have built we call it a consortium, but it's a group of community organizations, funders, educators, employers that serve as the ecosystem for our upskill participants. So we've got organizations out there like Dress for Success Northwest Arkansas, like Single Parent Scholarship Fund, Credit Counselors of Arkansas, just to name a few, who we refer participants to. They refer participants to us. And in their specific case, they actually deliver Upskill NWA's program. So I mentioned earlier that there's these key milestone events that happen within the life cycle of that participant while they're with us. Orientation is one. And then there's this Launch Your Career event for all of those that are in their final semester and they're getting ready to start applying to these hospitals. So Dress for Success comes in, they do a workshop with us. And they do interview skills and they deliver the resumes and get the participant ready to get into their new career.
Now, is there like a cap on how much somebody makes for them to apply to this?
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Because
So
I'm guessing they can't make 150, then be like.
That's right. Right. So it is, and I think that's a great question. I'm going to talk about eligibility. So specific to what you asked me, Migs. The participant has to be earning between 30 and 80% AMI. So what all that vocab is there is a scale that is used by HUD that contains that information. So 30 to 80% is directly on the website. So when the person hits apply and their screen shows eligibility and they can click on that and there's a pay scale there. Okay, so yes, they also have to be a resident of Madison County, Washington County, which is this, and Benton County, one of those three counties in order to be eligible for our program.
First of all, I'm looking at y'all's website. It's really colorful.
Isn't it beautiful?
Y'all did a really good job, and I see your entire team here, and I love that it's woman-led. I think that's really cool.
I do like the different colors on their backgrounds, man. That's
That
cool.
was all intentional.
Miguel's a visual guy, so seeing this, all these different
Even
colors.
the orange, the blue, and the green is very intentional, and they all have internal meaning to us.
Oh, wow.
So we serve the green band. Those are the folks, the ALICE population that's earning 30 to 80% AMI. And if you're not familiar with, and maybe if some of the listeners are not familiar with ALICE, it stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, and Employed.
I heard it at the Heart Conference.
That's right, yeah. So the ALICE population, about 70,000 families living here in Northwest Arkansas. And so we serve that green band. Those are where our non-traditional students come from. And our goal is to move them to the blue band, which is 81% AMI or higher. That's the colors that you see.
I think that's powerful, especially with the visual. It's even more powerful.
Yes.
So for you specifically, Carol, what are your goals for this program? Like, where do you want to see this program in the future? Because obviously you're doing a lot of good work already, but I always feel like people like you are always thinking about like, how can I make this even bigger, reach out to more people? So I don't know if you've put thought into that.
Yeah, I have. I get that question a lot, Irwin. What I see in the future is maybe the low-hanging fruit is going deeper into healthcare. So offering more programs that are in high demand, adding additional employer partners, and maybe even education partners so that we can put more students into the program and graduate them faster because we need them yesterday. So I think there's that. I have been approached about scaling Upskill to other cities in Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
That's always a consideration, but you have to have the funding to be able to do that. And so that funding has got to come from places like the states, like cities and counties even. So currently we have that ARPA funding, but it runs out eventually. And so now the support has to come from other places, which is why this is really my busy time of having those conversations with state and national foundations and cities and counties and everybody in between.
Because it's always the funding, right? Because like when it comes to finding employees or people that they could help you with this work, there's always good people that are looking for those kind of like opportunities to work in this field, doing this good work.
Yes.
But how do you pay for their wages? You got to go out there and look for that money, like you said. So I definitely understand that. I also wanted to talk to you a little bit about your role with the Community Clinic Board.
Yes.
You're the current, is it vice president or vice chair?
Vice chair.
Vice chair of the Community Clinic of Northwest. Is it Northwest Arkansas?
It is,
right?
yeah.
Board. Why do you think it's important for you to serve in that board? And what are you most proud of that work that you've done there?
I'm so proud to serve on that board, Ivan. One, because it's my second time around. And the first time I was with Walmart and really understanding what a federally qualified health center actually was. I'm proud of Community Clinics, NWA's ability to provide quality health care to everyone. For many years, people would look at a community clinic and think, oh, that's free health care. This is high quality health care. Dental services, mental health services.
I got my first COVID vaccine there once.
You did, right? Yeah, like I'm a patient. I go to the dental clinic there. So it is, I was especially proud of the effort of our doctors and nurses during COVID and their sacrifice in setting up mobile clinics, in driving around a little mobile vehicle and going to these neighbors and delivering groceries and vaccines. I have been this year, well, actually at the end of last year, we've been overseeing a transition and a period of growth. So we have done an acquisition, and now our spread is broader so that we can reach very rural communities in Benton County and in Washington County. We have in-school clinics. I'm so proud to serve on them. And it's taught me a lot about healthcare and even its dependency on Medicare, Medicaid, how disruptive it was when the unraveling of Medicaid occurred and, within the state of Arkansas. So it's been a huge growth period. And I'm going to join a board if I know I can grow from it and if I feel like I can contribute to it in some way. Boy, being on this board, it has given me maybe more than I've contributed, I would argue, because I've certainly learned a lot from Judd and his team.
Y'all have a really good board. A lot of good board members. We were talking about, shout out to the wifey.
Yeah, Mayra.
Shout out to also, Reverend Sarah Milford, who's so great. And I'm glad that all of you all are on that board and serving the people of Northwest Arkansas. That's because, like I said, I got my COVID vaccine there when COVID vaccines came out. It was like my first COVID vaccine I ever got. My mom has gone there sometimes for treatment specifically because, when she's transitioned out of a job, doesn't have insurance.
That's right.
And then they have people that speak Spanish, and my mom doesn't speak English, so it makes her feel comfortable.
That's right. And there's a sliding scale, right? So it's affordable healthcare, but you don't sacrifice the quality of it. We have, these are all board certified physicians, right? So you get high quality and in a community environment. Marshallese, Latinos, English speakers, like everything. Everybody's welcome. I encourage anybody to try it. Walk-in clinics, Sometimes you just got that sick kiddo at home and go check out Centerton. We just opened that one last year, I think maybe the year before. So.
And Springdale's at the what's that building called? I feel like that building changes names every few years. What's it called now? Do you know? It used to be.
It's on the Jones Center campus.
Is it the JTL? It's JTL something.
Yeah,
right?
That's exactly.
I feel like
what
it changes every.
Like it's on the back. Yes.
If you go into that building, if you're coming from like Thompson, it's on the. You go in through the building and it's on the left side.
That's right.
The clinic's on the left side.
Yeah.
So definitely check that out if you need it. One of the questions that we ask all of our guests, Carol, is. What do you do to take care of your mental health?
Oh, my goodness. That is a loaded question. I would say this because I've been talking a lot about my recent trip back home. And I talk about mi tierra. So,
I went to the restaurant. Mi tierra.
Mi tierra restaurant?
Yes, of course. Yes, mi tierra too.
But you're talking about,
I'm talking about my soil. So we have a family ranch in Texas that my mother and father left to me and my brother and my sister. And for Christmas, all the families converge on our ranch. And so the fireplace is lined with 25 stockings. We all stay in the house. So, primos are on the couches, air mattresses. We're cooking cookies. We're making menudo. We're eating stuffing and grilling steaks and talking around the campfire. That's what I need. That's what's good for my soul. Get me on my own dirt with my familia. I'm all set.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. But once again, if someone wants to learn about the Upskill program, apply, they go to upskillnwa.com. Do y'all have social media?
We do, yeah.
Where
so
can they find you
follow
there?
us on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn.
Okay, dokie. Hey, if you
Call
can,
back.
Yeah, follow me on LinkedIn. I'll tell you all about it.
Yes, please
Upskill.
do.
And is that an Upskill or Upskill NWA?
Upskill NWA.
Yeah, Upskill NWA. And this is funny,
And
Mix.
that's skill like a craft of some sort, not like a scale.
That's right.
Yeah. Like a wave.
Because I'm
Skill.
Texan, sometimes I'll say upskill and people think I'm saying upscale.
Yeah.
But it is upskill. So these are adding additional skills. So Upskill NWA.
Take advantage of the opportunity if that's you. If you're listening right now and you're like, man, I could probably use this. This can probably help me. All you got to do is go to the website, do the application. It might take a little bit, but be patient. You'll get through it. Some applications out there are really long as well. So this is something that will better your future. But Carol, thank you for joining us today. Really appreciative of your time. But for everybody listening, that was the end of the episode this week. My name is Irvin.
Wait, hold on. How are we gonna do this?
We're missing this because Elena usually comes in after I say this is Irvin.
Okay.
But how about we'll go.
Are you gonna say her?
This is
or
she can say it.
Okay.
I'll be like, okay, this is Irvin.
This is Sophie.
And Migs.
And joining us today was Carol Silva Moralez, who is the executive director, the CEO, the main boss of Upskill NWA. Thank you, Carol. We appreciate you being here.
Mucho gusto. It's been an honor.
And that's the end of the episode. Have a good week.
A perfect ending.
Yay, awesome. Y'all feel good about it?